Hello, welcome everybody. Jordan here. Going to be talking about probably my favorite character in Genshin Squadron to play, which is Android 17. What I think he does very well, the things that I think that people are missing out on, and just kind of the direction I see him going moving forward. So 17 is, in my opinion, a purely styled support character. And what I mean by that is that you are not there to make big plays by yourself. You're there to help your teammates make plays and help bail them out of bad spots, right? Makes a lot of sense. Like, you have your shields, which can help your teammates live, right? You are able to offer them mobility with the speed boost from your passive boosted skill 3, and then also your ult. But then you have like a lot of like small techie stuff with like buff flipping with skill 1 and stopping transformations on your auto attacks. And he has like a lot of like these little niche things that I just find really fun to play with. So I mentioned a couple aspects of 17's kit. I'm just going to do a quick overview just so that we're all on the same page. Very simple character. He has a passive. Basically, whenever he has his passive available, he gets a free use of an ability, skill 1, skill 2, or skill 3. And it gains an additional effect whenever he uses it with the passive boost. Skill 1 is like a simple projectile. It's like your main tool to secure or steal farm. And it has the buff flipping property that I said before. It'll take any buff, it'll turn it into a debuff, and it'll give them 5 stacks. Very good into counterpicking certain matchups, like the Kidhan Super Saiyan Goku lane. Very good into that. It's good into Daima, because you can flip his defense and movement speed buffs, which make him very vulnerable. And by using your passive on skill 1, you make it so that you do more damage based off of the debuffs that are available. So if you stack a lot of debuffs on someone, and then you get the passive skill 1, you'll do a lot of damage to them, honestly. Skill 2 is probably his worst ability, and I don't even think it's just because of it's just straight up bad. The issue that I have with the skill is that it just doesn't, the hit registry doesn't function very well. It's broken in the sense of it just doesn't work. I don't know what the issue is. Sometimes I hit someone melee range with it, clearly hit them, I get the little splash effect from the hit effect, and then I get the sound cue even, but it does no damage. I don't get the slow. If you use the passive boosted variant, you get a stun. Sometimes you hit them with the stun variant, and it just doesn't stun them, and you drop a kill for it, right? Or you even get yourself killed because you're trying to interrupt something. It's very unfortunate. I think the ability is a lot better than people think it is, and if it actually functioned as intended, it would be decent. I like the amount of burst movement that it gives me. I like it in skill 2 cooldown because it's on like a 3-second cooldown. Lets you play very aggro. Lets you kind of get in and out of situations. Very fun to use on skill 2. Skill 3 is your bread and butter. It's your best skill. You should be maxing this first. We'll go over that in the build section. But always want to max this first. Shields are very valuable. The amount of shield that you get scales depending on the level. It goes from like 300, 400, 500 from rank 1, 2, and 3. And then the range increases. The range increase is very nice. Also, the movement speed that you get on the passive boosted version is like super duper strong. Like, this is like the main tool that you're going to be using. And you should get very comfortable with the range and the usage of this ability. 17's ultimate has recently gotten buffed as of Season 4. It now gives more shields depending on the HP. The lower you are, the more shield you get, as well as with the damage. They increased the kind of like the multiplier for it. I think it was at 150% before, and now it's up to 200. You give a lot of shields if you're low HP. You should always, this is kind of like press in case of emergency button. You know, like something bad is happening. You're getting like ulted by one of the DPS, or you're just low and trying to solve for time. You just press the button. Gives you a ton of overshield, does a fair amount of damage. The no healing EX debuff that it applies is very strong in certain scenarios. You can use it to like dive towers because it denies them healing. You can use it to like make Kale waste her ult. You can use it against Gammas while they're ulting so that they don't get overshield. Like, there's a lot of use case for it. If they have a max burst, you can get rid of their max, right? Stuff like that. Like, there's a lot of cool things you can do with the no healing EX debuff. And the fact that his ult now gives you movement speed after you're done using it. It gives your allies movement speed the whole entire time, right? But then like after you use it, you have like 2 seconds of movement speed. Also, the shields last a very long time now too. So like, it's really hard for you to die, and you can stall really well, especially if you get like really good at staggering your shields. You can get a lot of value. Okay, so that's kind of like a brief overview of his abilities and what they do. I think another thing that's really important to mention is the cards that I like to run on 17. I'm not saying that this is like de facto the best build and no other build will work. This is just what I have found to be the most consistent for me in my play style, and that is triple blue. And it is awkward at first, especially if you're used to playing build up on a lot of techs, or you're used to like running barrier all the time or defense step, and you can put one of those in this build, and I think that's fine. I just find for me and the way that I've optimized my build, this is what works the best, and that's Strat Escape, Art of Decoy, and Limit Breaking Jump. And the reason why I have all three of these together is I think they synergize really well. I think Strat is just a good, consistent burst of movement speed that you can relatively control, because all you have to do is run away from people, and you're going to be playing their side of the map, so you're going to get it quite often. You can also use it as like a source of intel, because if you're running away from someone that you can't see, but they're close enough to like proc your strat, you'll get the strat boost, like the movement speed boost, so you can do like a little bit of like cool little interaction stuff, but that's kind of niche. I wouldn't worry too much about it. Decoy is probably my favorite card in the game right now. I think that getting good at like using Decoy and knowing when to look for the proc in order to get the movement speed and get the vanish cooldown reduction is just really good. You already are fast because your attack 17's fast. You have your shields for speed. You have your ult for speed. You have strat for speed. You have Decoy for speed. And now you have this reduced cooldown reduction on your vanish, which is like 45%, I think, if I remember correctly. It's around 50%. So, like, if you time it well, like, you can get another vanish back very soon. And then you also have double vanish, so now you have two vanishes, and then, you have your Decoy on top of that giving you another vanish sooner, so you essentially have like 2.5 vanishes in a way to think about it. And then I think for your helper, I think you always go Bubbles / Bola. I understand wanting to go Shu, especially, like, with hit. You want to be able to shoot the hit. Yeah, sure, it makes sense. I just find that, like, I just don't care. I don't care about the hit. There's very few hit players that make me wish I wanted to have Shu in the matchup. And if I'm that concerned about the hit, like, I just don't, like, 17's not that good into hit anyways. Like, it shouldn't be the answer to the matchup. So I think in that case, like, you should just be having another character to play in regards to hit. Bola / Bubbles is insane. Insane value with the triple blue build. It does the same thing essentially that Decoy does, where it doubles down on the movement speed because it gives the movement speed AoE, right? But then you also get the vanish cooldown reduction. So you get that with Decoy and Bola, and then you have double vanish, and then if, like, you get Jackie Chun, like, you could just vanish like every 4 seconds. It can be really, really strong, like, makes it really hard to catch you. You used to be able to do like infinite vanish stuff with the reduced cooldown, the divine draw that reduced your vanish cooldown. That was hard to say. I used to be able to like perma vanish and stuff. Maybe I'll put a clip of it on screen, but like it was like one of my favorite things to do. I was so excited to show it off during Blast, just like aura farm someone on tower by just vanishing around in a circle. But it didn't work out that way. This build it's so synergistic. It just functions so well once you get the hang of it. It is, like I said, very awkward. You're very squishy. You have to be very good at playing your life and playing your spacing and knowing the range of your shields. I find playing unlock camera, or at least like taking the time to unlock my camera and look around while I play like a safe spot, is very impactful with this build, because you just can't risk getting hit by stray abilities, like stray AoE stuff. You'll just get melted, But I just think this build is spectacular for this character, and it's what I find to be the most consistent. Okay, so what is the game plan? What are we trying to do as 17, right? What are we trying to do to make him work and create a favorable position for our team, right? You might say, well, you just go to team fights and you shield your teammates, right? And like, yeah, that's good, and you should be doing that sometimes. But the main thing that you need to be doing at all times is you need to be applying tower pressure. And what I mean by applying tower pressure is not just zombieing for the tower and hitting the tower and dying, because that is a very specific amount of pressure, right? Like, you're only keeping someone there while you're alive, and then once you're dead, they don't have to be there. So you don't want to die for chip. You want to show that you're willing to go for chip and force them to defend, but you don't want to necessarily die for it. If they're going to have someone sit on pad, then that's fine, because if they're just sitting on pad, they can't really do anything else. They can't farm. They can like try and get like the stuff around the tower, right? But that's it. That's all the farm that's available to them. And depending on the circumstance, it might not even be up, right? And you could just wait for them to go, and once they start auto attacking or like use an ability on that farm, then you just go and you tap the tower once and then you leave, and that's fine. You don't need to go and do a ton of chip damage to the tower. Just getting little bits of damage here and there, because it's gonna add up over time, right? And the more that you like sneak in one chip, you're gonna get in their head like, okay, well I can't leave pad, and then they're gonna get frustrated because they have to sit on pad, right? And then you're playing like this little like mental warfare type of game, and this cat and mouse game of like them trying to figure out where you are but never knowing where you are, and you need to be playing like out of vision well, and you know, like using clouds and bushes to your advantage. And I find that like unlocking my camera and like just watching the person pad sitting and like trying to understand their patterns and picking up if they like make certain mistakes or things like that and taking advantage of them is very important. And there's like this little nuance of the game that you have to understand, where it's okay for them to like get frustrated with you and send like 2 or 3 people to kill you on pad. That's fine. At 17, that's what you want, because you're really good at stalling. You're really good at buying yourself a lot of time. If you know how to leverage your cooldowns, you know how to manage your passive, if you're good at like using your decoy proc and your vanish and things like that, like you can have 3 people chase you, and like you'll stall them for long enough for your team to get something off of that, right? So that's your job. Is you have to pull attention and you have to pull focus, and you have to create space for your team by just existing, right? By having the threat of you hit tower. And then what you can do is if they want to pad sit and you can't do anything about it, like you can't, there's a character you like can't chip against, you'll die, right? Because you're really squishy, so like you can't just like walk in there, right? What you want to do instead is you just want to leave and you just want to go find something else to do. You can go farm, you know, if you still need to farm. That's like, once you hit the late game, like it's not your job to like solo take the tower. That's a mid game thing when people aren't so strong that they can basically one shot you. Once you get to the late game, you should just be looking to keep someone there, right, and create a 4v3, and then help enable your teammates in the fight. And then, you know, at that point, maybe you and your tank split off, and you guys go push the tower, and you just try to keep your tank healthy while he chips, and like maybe he CCs them, and then you get a chip in, and then you do this back and forth, right? Like, you have to be playing off your teammates a lot, especially in the late game, because there's not a whole lot you can do by yourself, and that's okay, because you are a team play character. You are a support character. Like, you're not going to be able to make hero plays, and you have to come to terms with that, especially like with the setup that you're running. Like, you're just there to be a utility piece. You are a very strong utility piece, though, and there are a lot of things that you can leverage, right? And as long as you are applying map pressure, you are doing the most for your team. Okay, so now that's kind of like, that's the gist of the game plan, right? And the mid and late game, I think, is to apply tower pressure. In the early game, it's normal stuff. You're just looking to secure farm, maybe try to steal farm. You know, go even in lane is kind of my plan as 17. You don't really need a lead with him. He doesn't benefit super hard from a lead. Obviously, playing from behind is going to suck because you're playing like a squishier build, right? But your mobility will help keep you alive, right? Don't greed as this character. He is not a character that benefits from greeding really hard, right? You want to just play off of your DPS. If they want to make a play, try help them make the play. If they don't want to, then you just leave. Like, it's okay, you know. It's they dictate the tempo, and you just help keep the tempo for them. That's sort of the deal. Okay, I want to go over a couple of like small tech things. Tech as in like not the role, but like character related stuff in regards to 17. So the most important thing that you need to learn when you first start playing 17, because you're going to be applying tower pressure, right, is that whenever you have your passive available to you, you can use your passive on the enemy pad because it doesn't count as an ability usage. So you won't be able to use it to do a Gextion burst. So you can do things like skill 3 shield yourself on pad, right? Or you can skill 2 like stun somebody on pad. You can like stun them into like an allied ult while you're sieging, things like that. Like, there's a lot of like small plays that you can make in that regard, right? And the main thing you'll be doing is I will just run in, I will skill 3 to chip the tower, and then I'll skill 3 again on pad to speed myself out, right? That's like your primary gameplay loop, is just doing that over and over again, because it's really hard for them to catch you, and it's really hard for them to punish you for doing that. It's similar to hit, like going invis and hitting the tower and then double vanishing and like invising out. Like, it's very hard to punish, right? It's not a whole lot of damage to the tower, but it's consistent free damage, which is very strong. So that's what you should be looking for a lot of times, especially in the early to mid game. That's pretty much like the main thing you should be doing. Once you get that under control and you get like a good understanding of that, that's good, because you can very easily waste a cooldown if you're just spamming your abilities on tower. This is where like the patience that I mentioned earlier comes in, because you don't want to be just spamming your skills as this character. His cooldown management is very important. You want your skills on cooldown for your passive. That's more of like in a late game when your skill 2 and skill 1 aren't as viable. Sometimes skill 1's more viable in the late game just because of the buff flip. Like in certain matchups, it's really good. Like if there's a Daima, like being able to catch a Daima with a max skill 1 to flip his buffs can be really strong, because especially if you're calming it to your team, like if they find him with that one debuff on him, he's just gonna blow up, you know. And like Daima doesn't have that much EP. He relies on powerful bans to keep him alive, so it can be very impactful, right? But outside of like certain niche scenarios like that, like I'm skill 1ing, skill 2ing like in a bush, like into a wall, right? So I can get another skill 3 for my passive from it regenerating faster. You know, that's like a small micro adjustment that you have to make in the late game, and like understanding what abilities are like strong for you, right? Like you're basically a shield bot at the end game. You're a shield bot. That's what your job is. Your job is to keep your teammates alive. It's to keep them mobile. It's to just, I say I'm the baby driver. I'm the getaway driver, right? Like you're not catching me. You're not catching my teammates. No one's dying. I'm on top of it, you know? And that's kind of how you have to play, is you play this babysitter role. And some people don't find that fun, and I understand. I enjoy it personally. I think never letting my teammates die and always getting them out is just so thrilling, just so exciting. And that's what I look forward to whenever I play this character. Another small like micro optimization that's available to this character is that you can use your passive boosted skill 3 to speed boost people, and that will give you assists on farm. So the way that works, if you're not familiar, is that by applying a buff or like a heal effect to someone, and then them getting a KO on a neutral piece of farm, right, you get an assist for that. It lingers for about like 5 seconds after the buff ends. And what you can do is something like you can speed boost your DPS to the back farm from tier 1 tower, and then you'll get, at the very least, depending on their clear time, but usually within the time frame, you'll get at least half of the XP from the Kai. If they have faster clear, you might even get the small creep underneath it, and that's 150 from the Kai because you get half of its 300, and then the soldier is 125. So you're getting like 200 XP if you get both of them, 150 if you're not, and that's not a lot of XP, right? Like that's not a ton of XP, but that's more than you're getting before. And by doing this, you're also just helping your DPS farm faster because they're rotating to the backs faster, you know? Assuming that they're going to the backs, like you're probably not going to get pressured anyways because you're rotating them when you don't need pressure in lane, right? So you're not going to need your skill 3 for yourself anyways. You're just going to use skill 1 and skill 2 to be clearing. So it's a good way to get value out of just using the ability, right? And then just, you know, getting something out of it, even though it might be a lot. You can do the same thing with Bola too, where like you can use Bola to speed boost people places and then also get assists on farm because of the buffs applied to you or applied to them. There's also things like slingshotting people out of tower by like putting Bola and like double shielding them and like launching them out of tower at full speed, like stuff like that. That's really fun. It's not that impactful that I think you need to like get really good at it, but there have been like small moments where it's mattered and stuff, and it's been cool to just like launch people out of tower at like 1,000,000 miles an hour, especially like a Daima with all the speed buffs, bro. He just goes so fast, so far. It's really funny, right? And like 17 is definitely not a mechanically, you know, engaging character. That's not what makes him good. What makes him good is that with proper game sense, there's a lot of opportunity for you to make good macro plays, right? High mobility, good survivability, really good things. You can just perma exist. It's really strong. So this is a good character if you already have game sense, right? I think to play and to leverage. Also, I think this is a good character to help learn game sense, because in order for you to do well on this character and to have a very positive experience, like you're gonna have to learn how to make high IQ plays and not just kind of run it down, because this character can't really run it down. At least not in the way of which I'm describing them being played. Like if you just try to run it down on them, you're just gonna lose. You know? So, and it's possible to like solo carry with this setup. I played nearly a month straight of solo queue with this build. I didn't do only solo queue, I will say, but I played a lot of solo queue several days of every week, you know, about a month before Blast, just running this, just figuring it out, fine-tuning it, and I still play it now. It's my favorite thing to play. It's what when I'm like, I don't know what I want to play, I play 17, I play triple blue, I just run around the map, I apply tower pressure, I peel my teammates out, like I just have a good time. That's just what I enjoy, personally, you know? I think that's everything. There's probably something else that I'm missing, and someone can correct me in the comments if they want. I mean, like, please yell at me in the comments, you know? But I think that's all I got. A very simple character. Just macro knowledge, just tower pressure, and just go crazy with saving your teammates. Be a hero. Be the hero they need, not the one they deserve, you know?